rain-slicked streets of Los Angeles gleamed under the sodium lamps as Zachary unlocked the door to their Silver Lake bungalow, his heart pounding with the weight of 10 years distilled into a single velvet box hidden in his jacket pocket. He had rehearsed the words 1,000 times in the mirror that morning, the proposal that would bind them forever, but the silence inside hit him like a gut punch, broken only by the faint murmur of voices from the bedroom upstairs. Pushing the door open, he froze at the sight of Ethan's phone buzzing on the kitchen counter, the screen lighting up with a message that seared into his soul, "Can't wait to feel you again tonight. L." Zachary's breath caught in his throat, the box slipping from his fingers to clatter against the hardwood floor, its contents spilling like shattered promises under the dim pendant light. He climbed the stairs on legs that felt like lead, each step echoing the fracture-lined spiderwebbing through the life he thought unbreakable, until he reached the landing and the world tilted into free fall. The bungalow in Silver Lake had always been their sanctuary, a mid-century haven tucked away from the relentless pulse of Hollywood, where palm trees whispered secrets to the night sky and the distant hum of traffic blended with the coo of mourning doves at dawn. Zachary remembered the day they signed the lease, 10 years ago almost to the hour, Ethan grinning like a boy with his arms slung around Zachary's shoulders, keys dangling from his fingers like a talisman against the chaos of their early 20s. Ethan Caldwell, with his sharp suits and sharper mind, had just passed the bar exam, his future as a rising entertainment lawyer glittering brighter than the Sunset Strip marquees he now defended. Zachary, then a wide-eyed barista with dreams of screenwriting, had fallen for that grin first, the way it crinkled the corners of Ethan's green eyes and made the world feel conquerable. Now, standing in the shadowed hallway, Zachary's hand trembled on the doorknob to their bedroom. The murmurs had stopped, replaced by the soft rustle of sheets and a low chuckle that twisted like a knife in his chest. He should have turned back, should have fled into the rain and let the storm wash away the illusion, but love, that stubborn beast, rooted him in place. Pushing the door open an inch, just enough to glimpse the tangle of limbs on their king-sized bed, Zachary's world imploded. Ethan, naked and flushed, propped on one elbow, his dark hair tousled in that post-coital disarray Zachary once thought reserved for him alone. And there, arched against the headboard with a lazy smile that could grace 1,000 magazine covers, was Liam Harlow, the Hollywood golden boy whose face Zachary had seen splashed across billboards for years. Liam, with his sun-kissed skin and tousled blonde waves, the kind of effortless beauty that made directors weep and audiences swoon. Their eyes met Zachary's for a split second, Ethan's widening in shock, Liam's narrowing in cool assessment, before Ethan bolted upright, clutching a pillow to his chest like a shield. "Zach," Ethan stammered, voice cracking like dry earth under summer sun. "This isn't. God, baby, let me explain." But explanations dissolved in the air between them, thick as the scent of sweat and betrayal. Zachary backed away, his heel catching on the threshold, sending him stumbling into the hall. The velvet box lay downstairs, its diamond solitaire mocking him from the floor, a relic of a future that had evaporated in the space of a breath. He didn't run then, not yet. Instead, he stood there, chest heaving, as the pieces of their life refracted through his mind like shards of stained glass. It had started in a coffee shop off Melrose, Zachary slinging lattes with foam art that earned tips and fleeting compliments, Ethan striding in one rainy Tuesday afternoon, drenched trench coat slung over his arm, ordering a black Americano with the clipped efficiency of a man who billed by the hour. Their eyes locked over the espresso machine, Ethan's lingering a beat too long on the way Zachary's apron hugged his lean frame, the faint scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood bike crash that made him look both boyish and battle-worn. "You're an artist with that milk steamer," Ethan had said, sliding a 20 across the counter with a wink that sent heat pooling in Zachary's veins. By closing time, they were trading stories over lukewarm mugs at a corner booth, Ethan's tales of law school drudgery clashing delightfully with Zachary's half-formed script scribbled on napkins. Ethan spoke of the cutthroat world of Tinseltown deals, the stars whose egos he tamed in boardrooms, while Zachary dreamed aloud of penning the next great queer romance for the screen, one that captured the ache of loving against the odds. That night, under the flickering neon of a Thai place in Thai town, Ethan kissed him for the first time, slow and sure, tasting of lemongrass and possibility. "You're the plot twist I didn't see coming," he'd murmured against Zachary's lips, and Zachary had believed him, every word. Years blurred into a rhythm as steady as the Pacific's tide. Ethan climbed the ladder at a boutique firm specializing in talent contracts, his days filled with NDAs and power lunches, while Zachary traded aprons for a desk job at a small production company, reading scripts and nursing his own ambitions in stolen evenings. They built a life in layers, weekend hikes in Griffith Park where they'd collapse laughing on checkered blankets, picnics of avocado toast and craft beer, a lazy Sundays in bed with a New York Times crossword, Ethan's foot hooked possessively around Zachary's ankle, quiet anniversaries marked by handwritten letters slipped into coat pockets, vows renewed in the soft glow of fairy lights strung across their patio. But cracks had formed, subtle as hairline fractures in porcelain. Ethan's hours stretched longer, his phone a constant companion buzzing with urgent texts from clients. Zachary chalked it up to ambition, the price of Ethan's success in a city that devoured the unwary. Late nights alone, Zachary would pace the loft, staring at the blank screen of his laptop, words failing him as the isolation gnawed deeper. "It's just the job," Ethan would soothe, pulling him close with apologies scented in cologne and Cabernet. "You're my anchor, Zach. Always." And Zachary, ever the optimist, would melt into those arms, convincing himself the doubts were ghosts conjured by his own insecurities. Tonight, those ghosts had materialized in flesh and bone. Downstairs, Zachary retrieved the ring box, snapping it shut with a finality that echoed through the empty kitchen. Rain pattered against the windows like impatient fingers, blurring the view of their shared herb garden, basil and rosemary wilting slightly from neglect. He poured a glass of the Merlot they'd saved for the proposal toast, the liquid sloshing crimson as his hands shook. Footsteps creaked on the stairs, and there was Ethan, hastily dressed in boxers and a rumpled tee, Liam's laughter trailing behind him like smoke. "Zachary, please," Ethan begged, reaching out, but Zachary flinched back, the counter digging into his spine. Liam lounged in the doorway, shirt half-buttoned, exuding that infuriating nonchalance of the untouchable elite. This was a mistake. A stupid, one-time thing. "Liam's in town for press, and we had too much to drink after the gala." Liam arched a brow, slipping into his loafers with deliberate grace. "Don't sell it short, Ethan. We both know it's more than that." His voice was velvet over steel, the drawl of a Georgia boy who'd conquered screens from Atlanta to the ArcLight. Zachary's gaze flicked to him, hating the magnetic pull, the way Liam's presence filled the room like a spotlight stealing the scene. "Get out," Zachary said, the word steady despite the storm inside. Not a shout, but a quiet command that brooked no argument. Liam shrugged, grabbing his jacket from the hook by the door, pausing to flash a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Sorry to crash your party, man. But hey, life's too short for bad scripts." The door clicked shut behind him, leaving the air heavier, charged with the unsaid. Ethan sank onto a bar stool, head in hands, shoulders trembling. "I love you, Zach. I do. This doesn't change that." But it did. Everything. Zachary set the glass down, the ring box beside it, and walked out into the rain without another word, the downpour soaking him to the bone as he drove aimlessly through the canyons, the city lights smearing into streaks of neon regret. By the time he pulled into the lot of his old friend Marcus's apartment in Echo Park, the clock had ticked past midnight, and the first fissures of dawn threatened the horizon. Marcus, broad-shouldered and unflappably kind, with his locks tied back and a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, opened the door in sweatpants and a faded Ramones tee, his dark eye sharpening at the sight of Zachary's drenched form. "Jesus, Zach. What the hell happened?" They collapsed onto the sagging couch, Zachary recounting the night in halting bursts, each detail a fresh wound. Marcus listened without interruption, handing over a towel and a mug of chamomile that steamed gently in the lamplight. "That son of a bitch," Marcus muttered finally, pulling Zachary into a hug that smelled of patchouli and home. Marcus had been there from the beginning, the college roommate who'd introduced Zachary to the queer scene in WeHo, the one who'd held him through his first heartbreak and celebrated every milestone since. As the tea cooled, Zachary's sobs ebbed into exhaustion, the weight of betrayal settling like lead in his limbs. 10 years, Mark. How do you throw that away for? For him? Marcus squeezed his shoulder, voice low and steady. You don't throw it away. He does. And now? You pick up the pieces. But not tonight. Tonight, You sleep. Curled on the guest bed under a quilt stitched with memories of road trips to Big Sur, Zachary stared at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, replaying the scene in loops that blurred reality and nightmare. Sleep came fitfully, haunted by echoes of laughter and the ghost of a touch that was no longer his. Morning broke with the scent of coffee brewing, Marcus sliding a plate of eggs and toast under his nose, the simple act a lifeline in the wreckage. They spent the day wandering Echo Park Lake, lotus pads bobbing on the surface like forgotten wishes, ducks quacking indifferently to human drama. Marcus shared stories of his own scars, the ex who'd ghosted him after 5 years, the therapy sessions that rebuilt him brick by brick. Pain's the great equalizer, Zach. Gay, straight, doesn't matter. It guts you the same. But it also carves space for something real. By afternoon, Zachary's phone buzzed incessantly with Ethan's texts, apologies layered thick as LA smog, promises of counseling, of making it right. He read them in silence, thumb hovering over delete, before silencing the device altogether. The sun dipped low, painting the lake in hues of amber and rose, and for the first time since the night before, Zachary felt a flicker, not of hope, but of possibility. The city sprawled before him, vast and unforgiving, but alive with the hum of second chances. That evening, back at the bungalow, Ethan waited on the porch steps, eyes red-rimmed, a bottle of their favorite Pinot in hand. "Talk to me," he pleaded as Zachary approached, keys jangling like accusations. The air hung heavy with jasmine from the neighbor's trellis, the distant wail of a siren underscoring the tension. Zachary stopped a few feet away, rain from the night before still pooling in the cracks of the walkway. "Why, Ethan? Was it the thrill? The fame? Me not being enough?" Ethan's face crumpled, words tumbling out in a rush. "It's not you. God, never you. Liam. He's a client. The press tour's been insane, and one night we crossed a line. Booze, stress, stupidity. But I swear, Zach, you're my everything. Marry me. Let's fix this." The ring box extended, diamond catching the porch light, and Zachary's heart clenched, a war between memory and mistrust. He wanted to believe, to rewind to the man who'd once written sonnets on post-its, but the image of those sheets, that chuckle, lingered like smoke. "I need time," he said finally, voice barely above the evening breeze. "Real time. Not excuses." Ethan nodded, defeated, as Zachary brushed past him into the house, locking the door with a click that resonated like finality. Alone in the bedroom that still smelled of them, Zachary stripped the bed, bundling sheets into the wash with mechanical precision, the hum of the machine a white noise against the roar in his head. He slept on the couch that night, the script of their life rewritten in invisible ink, the blank pages ahead both terrifying and tantalizing. Days bled into weeks, a fragile truce holding them in orbit. Ethan threw himself into work with renewed fervor, late dinners becoming the norm, while Zachary buried himself in revisions for a spec script, the words flowing freer now, laced with the raw edge of hurt. Friends circled like sentinels, Marcus dragging him to poetry slams in Limerick Park, where voices rose in cadence against the backdrop of jazz, their mutual pal Lena, a fiery Latina director with a pixie cut and a laugh like thunder, hosting game nights that devolved into truth or dare confessions over tequila shots. One such night, under the string lights of Lena's backyard in Atwater Village, the question hung in the air like humidity. "What's your biggest fear right now?" Lena asked, her gaze piercing Zachary's over the rim of her glass. He swirled his drink, ice clinking softly. "That I was blind to it all along. That love like ours was just a pretty lie." Marcus leaned in, his hand warm on Zachary's knee. "Or that it's not over yet. Fears lie too, you know." The words lingered as the stars wheeled overhead, and in the quiet drive home, Zachary felt the first stirrings of anger, hot and clarifying, burning away the fog of shock. He confronted Ethan the next morning over breakfast, the kitchen bathed in the crisp light of a California autumn, avocados split open on the cutting board like halved hearts. "Tell me everything," Zachary demanded, fork paused mid-air. "No edits. No spin." Ethan hesitated, then spilled it, the late-night meetings that blurred into drinks, Liam's charisma a siren call in the sterile fluorescence of conference rooms, the first touch in a hotel bar that escalated to stolen weekends in Malibu rentals. "He makes me feel alive in a way I forgot," Ethan admitted, voice breaking. "But it's not love. It's escape. And I hate myself for it." The confession landed like a slap, but in its honesty, Zachary glimpsed the man he still recognized, flawed and human. Forgiveness hovered on the horizon, elusive as the marine layer rolling in from the coast, but for now, it was enough to breathe, to rebuild from the rubble one deliberate step at a time. Autumn in Los Angeles unfolded in subtle shifts, the jacaranda trees shedding violet blossoms like confetti from a forgotten parade, the air crisping just enough to make flannel shirts viable without the chill chasing you indoors. Zachary navigated those weeks like a man learning to walk on a tightrope strung between devastation and determination, each day a balancing act of routine and reckoning. Mornings began with yoga on the bungalow's deck, the sun rising over the Hollywood Hills in a blaze of pink and gold, his body bending into warrior poses that mirrored the battle within. Ethan respected the space, retreating to the guest room without protest, his presence a ghost in the house they once filled with music and murmured plans. Work became Zachary's anchor, the production company office in Culver City a hive of creative frenzy where scripts piled high and egos clashed like cymbals. His boss, a no-nonsense Brit named Clive with a penchant for profanity-laced pep talks, noticed the change. "You've got fire in your revisions, lad," Clive said one afternoon, tossing Zachary's latest draft across the desk, pages marked with approving scrawls. "This queer romance you've cooked up, it's got teeth. Pitch it to Lena, she's scouting for her next indie." The validation hit like a shot of espresso, sharp and invigorating. Zachary's script, tentatively titled Echoes in the Canyon, wove a tale of two men navigating love's labyrinth in the shadow of fame, their bond tested by secrets and spotlights. It was catharsis disguised as fiction, every line an exorcism of his own turmoil. Lena read it over takeout pho in her cluttered living room, chopsticks pausing mid-slurp as her eyes widened. "This is gold, Zach. Raw, real. We're shooting a proof of concept next month. You in?" The yes tumbled out before doubt could intervene, and suddenly, Zachary's world expanded beyond the bungalow's walls, into late-night story sessions with a skeleton crew of dreamers, their laughter echoing off warehouse walls in Frogtown. Marcus joined the fray, his graphic design skills lending visuals to mood boards splashed with Polaroids of dusty trails and sunset-kissed beaches. In those moments, creativity surged like a wave, washing away the salt of tears, leaving Zachary buoyant, if not whole. Ethan, meanwhile, unraveled in increments. The firm buzzed with rumors of his distraction, a big contract with a streaming giant slipping through his fingers due to a missed clause. He came home one evening, tie loosened like a noose, collapsing into the armchair with a bottle of scotch that diminished by inches as he talked. "I almost lost the Harlow account today," he confessed, the name dropping like a stone into still water. "Liam's team is pulling back, saying I'm not focused. And they're right." Zachary, chopping cilantro for tacos at the island, paused, knife hovering. "Because of us? Or because you can't stop thinking about him?" Ethan's laugh was bitter, hollow. "Both. God, Zach, I see what I've done now. To you, to me. I thought I could compartmentalize, keep the thrill separate from the real. But it's all bleeding together." The admission cracked something open in Zachary, a fissure where empathy seeped through the anger. He set the knife down, sliding onto the stool beside Ethan, their knees brushing in accidental intimacy. "Then fight for the real," he said softly, the words a challenge and a plea. "Or let it go." That night, they talked until the candles guttered low, voices weaving through the dark like threads in a fraying tapestry. Ethan spoke of his own ghosts, the conservative upbringing in Orange County, the closet he'd burst from in law school only to rebuild walls brick by brick in the high-stakes world of celebrity law. "Liam's easy," he admitted. "No strings, no depth. But you're the depth I drown in, and I love it, even when it scares me." Zachary listened, tracing patterns on the condensation of his water glass, the coolness grounding him. Dawn crept in, painting the room in greys, and when Ethan reached for his hand, Zachary didn't pull away. It wasn't absolution, not yet, but a bridge, tentative and trembling, spanning the chasm. The proof of concept chute descended on them like a whirlwind, Lena's vision transforming an abandoned lot in the valley into a makeshift canyon set, trucks rumbling in with lights and grips under a sky threatening clouds. Zachary shadowed her, heart hammering as actors, stand-ins with earnest faces and improvised lines, brought his words to life. "Cut!" Lena called after the first take, striding over with her baseball cap askew. "Zach, that dialogue about the betrayal? It's electric. Feels lived in." He nodded, throat tight, watching as the leads, two lanky 20-somethings with chemistry that crackled, paused for notes. One of them, a kid named Theo with freckles across his nose and a shy grin, caught Zachary's eye during a break, offering a water bottle with a casual, "Writer, right? Love the script. Hits close to home." Their conversation stretched through lunch, wrap sandwiches devoured on tailgates, Theo sharing fragments of his journey from community theater in Sacramento to bit parts in web series, the grind of auditions that chipped away at resolve. "Rejection's a bitch," Theo said, wiping mustard from his lip. "Makes you question if you're worth the script." Zachary chuckled, the sound surprising him. "Or it writes a better one. Keep going. The good roles reward the scars." Theo's gaze held his a beat longer, warm and appraising, before Lena's whistle summoned them back. The day wrapped as sun dipped, the crew dispersing into the twilight with hugs and high fives, Zachary lingering to pack props, the weight of creation settling like a mantle. Driving home through the 101, windows down to let the freeway wind whip his hair, Zachary felt alive in a way he hadn't since the discovery, the script's pulse syncing with his own. But home brought reality crashing back, Ethan pacing the living room, phone in hand, face ashen. "Liam's here," he said flatly. "In LA, wants to meet." 2. "Apologize, I guess." The name ignited a sparkler of fury in Zachary's chest, fizzing hot and brief. "Apologize? To who? The man he wrecked, or the one he seduced?" Ethan winced, setting the phone down. "To both of us. Says he feels like shit, that it got out of hand." I told him no, but he's persistent. Zachary's mind raced, images flashing, Liam's smirk in the doorway, the ease with which he'd claimed space in their bed. Curiosity warred with caution, a toxic brew. "Let him come," he heard himself say, the words out before reason could reel them in. "But not here. Neutral ground. I want to see what kind of man destroys lives for sport." The meeting was set for the next evening at a quiet bistro in West Hollywood, the kind of place with exposed brick and overpriced charcuterie, where industry whispers mingled with clinking glasses. Zachary arrived first, claiming a corner booth with a view of the door, nursing a gin and tonic that burned going down. Ethan slid in beside him minutes later, hand brushing Zachary's thigh in silent solidarity, but the touch felt foreign, a reminder of fractures not yet mended. Liam entered like he owned the room, linen shirt unbuttoned just so, aviators perched on his head, drawing glances from every table. He spotted them, weaving through with that predatory grace, sliding into the seat opposite. Up close, sans the haze of betrayal, he was stunning, hazel eyes flecked with gold, jawline carved for close-ups, a faint scar above his lip from a stunt gone wrong adding rugged allure. "Gentlemen," he drawled, signaling the waiter with a flick of fingers. "Thanks for this. Scotch, neat. And whatever these two are having." Awkward pleasantries clinked in glasses, the air thick with unspoken indictments. Liam leaned forward, elbows on the scarred wood, his gaze flicking between them. "Look, I know I fucked up. Royally. Ethan and it was chemistry, sure, but mostly me being a selfish prick. Hollywood chews you up, spits out the bones, and I chased the distraction. But seeing the fallout? On you, Zachary." He trailed off, sincerity etching lines around his mouth. "I'm sorry. Truly. If there's a way to make it right." "Right." Zachary cut in, voice low but edged like glass. "You don't get to waltz in with apologies and erase 10 years. You played a game, Liam. We were the board. Liam nodded, unflinching, the golden boy mask slipping to reveal a weariness Zachary hadn't expected. Fair. I deserve that. But Ethan's a good man. Caught in my orbit like too many before. Don't let my mess eclipse what you two have. Ethan shifted, discomfort radiating, but Zachary pressed on, the question spilling like uncorked wine. What do you want from him? From this city? Or is it just conquests to fill the empty frames? Liam's laugh was soft, self-deprecating. Touché. Maybe it's all of it. The rush, the escape. But lately? It's hollow. Next film's a rom-com, ironic, right, and I'm method acting my way through loneliness. You write, don't you, Zachary? Scripts. The pivot caught him off guard, and Zachary nodded warily. Trying to. Liam's eyes lit, genuine spark. Read your stuff sometime? Could use a real voice in this town. The offer hung, bizarre and intriguing, as the night wore on, conversation veering from accusations to anecdotes, Liam's early days scraping by in acting classes, Ethan's war stories from the courtroom, Zachary sharing snippets of his canyon tale. By the time plates cleared, the tension had thawed to something almost cordial, Liam footing the bill with a flourish before standing. No hard feelings, he asked, extending a hand to each. Ethan shook it first, grip firm. Zachary followed, the contact brief but electric, a jolt that lingered as Liam vanished into the night, taillights fading down Santa Monica Boulevard. In the car ride home, silence stretched, charged. That was unexpected, Ethan ventured, fingers drumming the wheel. Yeah, Zachary murmured, staring out at the blur of billboards advertising Liam's latest blockbuster. Humanizes the villain, doesn't it? Back in the bungalow, the air hummed with possibility. Ethan turned to him in the doorway, eyes searching. Can we try? Really try? Zachary met his gaze, the hazel depths reflecting his own uncertainty. One day at a time, he said, and when Ethan's lips brushed his forehead, tentative as a question, he didn't pull away. Sleep came easier that night, dreams threaded with canyons and spotlights, the path ahead winding but visible. Weeks later, the proof of concept premiered at a microfest in Silver Lake, a packed theater with folding chairs and bootleg popcorn, the air electric with indie fervor. Zachary sat between Lena and Marcus, heart in his throat as the short flickered to life on screen, his words given flesh. Whispers rippled through the crowd at the betrayal scene, a collective intake mirroring his own remembered pain. Applause thundered at credits, Theo bounding up post-screening to envelop him in a bear hug. You nailed it, man. That's my new favorite short. The after-party spilled into a dive bar nearby, craft beers flowing as well-wishers clapped Zachary's back, Lena already fielding interest from distributors. Amid the buzz, Ethan appeared at his side, a proud smile softening his features, arms slipping around Zachary's waist. Proud of you, he whispered, the words a balm. But as the night peaked, a shadow crossed the threshold, Liam, casual in jeans and a Henley, scanning the room until his eyes locked on Zachary. He approached with 2 drinks in hand, offering one with a nod. Caught the screening. Killer stuff. That line about echoes? Stuck with me. Zachary accepted the beer, pulse quickening. Thanks. Didn't expect the star treatment. Liam grinned, leaning against the bar. Deserved. Hey, if you're open, my agent's sniffing indies. Could intro you. The offer dangled, temptation wrapped in olive branch. Ethan, sensing the shift, excused himself to the restroom, leaving them in a bubble of conversation that flowed too easily, crafting scenes, the loneliness of the page, the thrill of seeing it breathe. Liam's vulnerability peeked through, tales of red carpet facades masking midnight doubts, and Zachary found himself sharing, the walls between them crumbling like dry clay. When Ethan returned, the moment shattered, politeness resuming. Liam clapped Zachary's shoulder farewell, slipping a card into his palm. Call if you want. No strings. Alone later, card burning a hole in his pocket, Zachary wrestled with the pull, a dangerous curiosity blooming amid the healing. Ethan, oblivious in sleep beside him, stirred as Zachary traced his jawline, the familiar curve anchor against the tide. Winter teased Los Angeles with uncharacteristic teeth, a cold snap rolling in from the Pacific that turned breaths to visible puffs and sent locals bundling into scarves more for style than survival. The bungalow hunkered against the chill, its windows fogged with the steam of soup simmering on the stove, Zachary and Ethan orbiting each other in a dance of cautious reconnection. Counseling sessions became ritual, twice weekly in a sunlit office off Wilshire, where Dr. Rivera, a soft-spoken Latina with wire-rimmed glasses and an uncanny knack for cutting through bullshit, guided them through the minefield of trust rebuilt. "You're not repairing a vase," she'd say, her voice like warm gravel. "You're forging something stronger from the shards. But it takes fire." The fire came in flickers, date nights at hidden gems like a speakeasy in Koreatown, where just notes curled around candle flames and Ethan's hand found Zachary's under the table, thumb tracing circles that spoke of sorry without words. Or mornings tangled in fresh sheets, the guest room abandoned for good, bodies rediscovering rhythms interrupted. "I missed this," Ethan breathed one dawn, lips against Zachary's collarbone, the admission laced with the ache of absence. Zachary arched into it, but shadows lingered in his mind, doubts whispering like wind through palm fronds. The script's momentum carried him forward, Lena securing funding for a full short, casting calls buzzing with eager faces. Theo landed the lead, his boyish charm evolving into a nuanced portrayal of quiet devastation that left Zachary breathless during table reads. "You're channeling something fierce," Theo told him over coffee post-rehearsal, steam rising between them like unspoken invitations. "It's hot." The compliment warmed, but Zachary brushed it off with a laugh, focusing on notes scribbled in margins, the craft as shield. Yet Liam's card remained in his wallet, a talisman he fingered in idle moments, the embossed gold script a siren song of opportunity. One evening, after a grueling rewrite session that stretched past midnight, Zachary pulled it out, dialing before reason could intervene. Liam answered on the second ring, voice husky from what sounded like a rap party. "Zachary!" "The man of the hour." "What's brewing?" They talked for an hour, the line crackling with easy rapport, Liam praising the short's trailer, floating names of producers hungry for authentic queer stories. "You've got a voice that cuts through the noise," Liam said. "Dinner?" "My treat. Strictly shop talk." Zachary hesitated, glancing at Ethan dozing on the couch, script pages scattered like fallen leaves. "Sure. Why not?" The dinner unfolded at a rooftop in downtown, the city sprawling below like a glittering circuit board, lights winking in Morse code secrets. Liam arrived windswept from a set in the desert, linen pants dusted with sand, his smile disarming as he pulled out Zachary's chair. "To new chapters," he toasted, glasses chiming, the vintage Cabernet smooth as deception. Conversation flowed like the wine, from script beats to industry pitfalls, Liam's anecdotes laced with self-mockery that humanized the icon. "Ever feel like you're playing a role off-screen too?" he asked, fork spearing a rare steak, eyes intent over the candle flicker. "All the time," Zachary admitted, the gin loosening tongues. "Especially lately. Betrayal's a hell of a director." Liam's expression sobered, leaning in. "I was the villain in your story." "Deservedly. But villains have arcs too. Mine's learning not to wreck the good shit." The words bridged something, and as plates cleared, Liam's hand brushed Zachary's on the table, a fleeting touch that sent sparks skittering up his arm. "You're more than the wreckage," Liam murmured. "You're the rewrite." Zachary pulled back, pulse thundering, the line between professional and personal blurring like city lights in rain. He excused himself early, hailing a cab with a nod to future collabs, but the ride home churned with turmoil, the card now joined by a napkin scribbled with contacts, temptation doubled. Ethan waited up, concern etching his brow as Zachary recounted the meal, editing out the brush of skin. "Sounds promising," Ethan said, but his eyes searched, probing for cracks. They made love that night, urgent and reclaiming, but in the afterglow, Zachary lay awake, staring at the ceiling's fan blades slicing shadows, guilt a low hum in his veins. The shoot commenced in earnest, transforming the valley lot into a verdant illusion with rented foliage and practical effects. The crew, a family of misfits bonded by caffeine and camaraderie. Zachary thrived in the chaos, directing second unit with Lena's blessing, framing shots that captured the script's emotional core, the stolen glances across crowded rooms, the quiet unraveling of vows. Theo shone, his performance layering vulnerability with fire, off-camera moments stretching into lingering chats during downtime, Theo's laugh a bright counterpoint to the set's intensity. "You're killing it," Zachary told him one afternoon, as they reviewed dailies in the honey wagon, the small space thick with the scent of takeout burritos. Theo's knee bumped his under the table, accidental at first, then not, the air charging with possibility. "Thanks. Mostly 'cause your words give me something real to hold." Theo's gaze dropped to Zachary's mouth, then back up, bold and boyish. "Off the record? I'd kill for a scene like the proposal. With you calling the shots." Heat flushed Zachary's cheeks, and he laughed it off, but the seed planted, rooting in fertile soil of unrest. That evening, Ethan surprised him with tickets to a screening at the Egyptian, a classic queer film fest highlight, their hands intertwined through previews, the silver screen a portal to stories of love's endurance. "This is us," Ethan whispered during a tender scene, squeezing Zachary's fingers. "We make it through." The affirmation anchored, but as the credits rolled, Zachary's phone vibrated, a text from Liam, "Saw the trailer. Obsessed. Coffee tomorrow? Got a producer who needs to meet you." He showed Ethan, transparency a fragile vow. "Go," Ethan urged, pride masking the flicker of unease. "This is your breakthrough." The coffee shop in Brentwood buzzed with yoga moms and script readers, Liam tucked in a corner booth with laptops and contracts, his energy infectious as he introduced Elena Voss, a powerhouse producer with silver streaks in her bob and a reputation for green lighting risks. "Zachary's got it," Liam vouched, arm slung casually over the booth back. "Fresh voice, lived truth." Elena's eyes lit as Zachary pitched, passion igniting his words, the room shrinking to their triad. By pour-over's end, handshakes sealed interest in expanding the short to feature length, Elena's card exchanged with promises of follow-ups. "You're onto something," she said, gathering her things. "Don't let the town grind it out of you." Alone with Liam, the high lingered, adrenaline buzzing. "You didn't have to champion me," Zachary said, stirring sugar into dregs. Liam's smile was slow, intimate. "Maybe I want to. You're not just Ethan's. You're you." The words hung, heavy with implication, and when Liam leaned across the table, capturing Zachary's hand in a grip that lingered, the world narrowed to that point of contact, electric and forbidden. Zachary withdrew, heart slamming, mumbling thanks as he fled into the parking lot, the sun blinding as guilt crashed over him. Home confronted him with normalcy, Ethan at the stove, stirring risotto with basil from their garden, radio crooning soft indie folk. "How'd it go?" he asked, plating with flourish. "Amazing," Zachary replied, voice steady despite the tremor inside. He pulled Ethan close, kissing him with desperation masked as desire, bodies colliding in the kitchen's warmth. But as they moved to the bedroom, clothes shedding like skins, Zachary's mind wandered to hazel eyes and sunlit booths, the betrayal's echo now his own. Dr. Rivera's office the next week crackled with confession, Zachary spilling the encounter in halting breaths, Ethan's hand limp in his across the divide of the couch. "I didn't cross the line," Zachary insisted, but the words rang hollow. "But I felt the pull." Dr. Rivera nodded, unflinching. "Feelings aren't actions, but they're signals. What does this pull say about your healing?" Ethan's silence stretched, then broke in a whisper. "That I'm scared of losing you to this world I dragged you into." The session ended in tears, hugs exchanged in the parking lot under overcast skies, a pact renewed to fight the fractures. But the seed grew, conversations with Liam escalating to daily texts, script tweaks, industry gossip, flirtations veiled as jests. Theo's touches on set multiplied, a hand on the small of his back during blocking, a shared cigarette in the shadows of craft services, smoke curling like questions. Climax brewed at the wrap party, a raucous affair in a loft in Arts District, graffiti walls pulsing with bass from a DJ spinning queer anthems. Lena hoisted a toast to Zachary, shot glass raised high. To the heart of this beast. The night blurred in shots and sweat, bodies grinding on the dance floor, Zachary losing himself in rhythm until Theo appeared, pressing close, breath hot on his neck. "Dance with me," Theo murmured, hips swaying in sync, hands roaming with permission sought in glances. They moved together, electric, the crowd a blur, until a familiar figure cut through, Liam, eyes locking on the pair with unreadable intensity. He approached, clapping Theo on the back. "Co-star, who? Nice moves." Theo grinned, oblivious, excusing himself for a refill, leaving Zachary adrift in Liam's orbit. "Fate's a funny director," Liam said, voice low over the thrum. "Throws us in the same frame." Before Zachary could respond, Ethan materialized, arm snaking possessively around his waist, smile tight. "Liam. Didn't expect you." The triangle tightened, air thickening with undercurrents, words exchanged like fencing thrusts. Theo returned, sensing the shift, pulling Zachary onto the floor with a wink, but the spell shattered, the dance now evasion. Hours later, in the cab home, Ethan's quiet fury erupted. "What the hell was that? Flirting with him? In front of me?" "I wasn't," Zachary started, but the denial faltered, truth bitter on his tongue. "You were. And it hurts, Zach. More than I thought possible." The argument spilled into the bungalow, voices rising like storm waves, accusations crashing, Ethan's past sins weaponized, Zachary's temptations laid bare. "You're punishing me for your mistake," Zachary shouted, the first crack in his restraint. "No," Ethan countered, eyes blazing. "I'm fighting for us. But if you're already looking elsewhere." The words hung, a guillotine blade. Zachary stormed out, driving through rain-slicked streets to Marcus's, pounding on the door until his friend's bleary face appeared. "Again?" Marcus sighed, but pulled him in, the couch a familiar refuge. Dawn found them nursing coffees on the fire escape, city awakening below. "You're both bleeding," Marcus said, blunt as ever. "But love's not a solo act. Decide if it's worth the scars." Zachary nodded, resolve hardening. He returned home to find Ethan asleep on the couch, face streaked with dried tears, a note on the table, "I love you enough to let you go if that's freedom. But God, I hope it's not." The gesture pierced, and Zachary curled beside him, whispering apologies into the quiet, the path to forgiveness now a labyrinth of mutual grace. Spring erupted in Los Angeles with defiant color, bougainvillea cascading over fences in riots of magenta and fuchsia, the air perfumed with orange blossoms that masked the undercurrent of exhaust. The bungalow bloomed anew under Zachary's hands, window boxes overflowing with snapdragons and herbs, a metaphor for tending what was wilted but not dead. He and Ethan entered a phase of deliberate tenderness, small acts accruing like interest, Ethan's habit of leaving fresh-pressed juice on the nightstand, Zachary's playlists curated for their commutes, soulful tracks that bridged silences. Therapy evolved into toolkit, Dr. Rivera assigning radical honesty exercises, daily check-ins where vulnerabilities were voiced without defense. "I felt invisible last week," Ethan admitted one morning over oatmeal flecked with blueberries, spoon clinking softly. "When you came home late from set, eyes distant." Zachary reached across the table, fingers lacing. "I'm sorry. The pull of the work. It's intoxicating. But you're my center." The words, practiced yet sincere, eased the knot in Ethan's brow, and they sealed it with a kiss that tasted of oats and olive branch. Progress felt tangible, a slow thaw after winter's grip, but Zachary's orbit expanded, the film's post-production demanding long hours in editing bays downtown, where footage unspooled like veins of memory. Theo texted sporadically, professional at first, line readings, promo ideas, then veering personal, "Missed your energy on set. Coffee soon?" Zachary replied with deflections, boundaries firm but fraying at edges. Liam's communications tapered to business, Elena Voss circling with offers, but a late-night call shattered the decorum. "Can't sleep," Liam confessed, voice slurred with insomnia or scotch. "Rehearsing this scene tomorrow," Guy confesses love to his best friend. "Ringing any bells?" Zachary, pacing the deck under stars smudged by light pollution, chuckled despite himself. Method acting the heartbreak. Something like, "Wish I had your script for it." Real emotion, not this polished crap. The vulnerability tugged, and before he knew it, Zachary was emailing scene notes, tweaks born of his own scars. Liam's gratitude arrived swift. "You're a lifesaver." "Dinner to celebrate?" "My trailer on the lot." He declined, citing schedule, but the exchange lingered, a thread-pulling taut. Meanwhile, the short film's festival submission yielded fruit, a slot at Outfest, Lars queer cinema mecca, with a panel to boot. Lena whooped over Zoom, her face pixelated but ecstatic. "This is your launch pad, Zach. Wear something fierce." Preparations consumed them, wardrobe raids in vintage shops on Vermont Avenue yielding a tailored blazer in midnight blue for Zachary, Ethan insisting on accompanying, their reflections side by side in the mirror, a tableau of unity. "We look good," Ethan said, adjusting Zachary's collar, eyes soft with pride. The festival descended on the red carpet at the Orpheum, paparazzi flashes popping like gunfire, the air electric with anticipation. Zachary walked it with Lena and Theo, Ethan's hand steady at his elbow, the quartet a front of solidarity. Inside, the theater thrummed, seats filled with faces from the community, activists with pins proclaiming love wins, couples entwined in hushed excitement. As the lights dimmed, Zachary's pulse synced with the projector whir, his story unfolding in monochrome and emotion. The screening ended in standing ovation, tears streaking cheeks in the rows ahead, whispers of brilliant rippling back. The Q&A panel buzzed, moderator probing Zachary on inspirations. "Personal excavation," he said, voice steady under the spots. "Love's messiest when it's truest." Post-panel, the lobby swirled with admirers, Elena Voss cornering him with effusive praise and a verbal commitment for development funds. "This screams feature," she declared, clinking flutes of complimentary bubbly. Amid the throng, Liam appeared, tuxedo sharp as a blade, pulling Zachary into a hug that pressed too close. "Told you." Star in the making. Ethan, nearby, stiffened, but masked it with a nod. "Appreciate the support." The after-party at a rooftop in Hollywood Hills overlooked the basin, infinity pool reflecting city glow, champagne fountains bubbling amid laughter. Zachary navigated with grace, networking with directors whose films he'd idolized, Theo at his side regaling with anecdotes that drew crowds. But as midnight neared, Ethan pulled him aside to a quiet alcove, vines draping like curtains. "Having fun?" he asked, tone light but eye searching. "Surreal," Zachary admitted, sipping sparkling water to cut the fuzz. "Like living someone else's dream." Ethan's smile faltered. "As long as it's ours." The moment stretched, intimate, until a server interrupted with hors d'oeuvres, the spell breaking. Later, on the dance floor under fairy lights, Zachary lost himself in the beat, bodies swaying, until Theo cut in, his touch light but insistent. "One dance," Theo murmured, breath warm. "For the muse." They moved, fluid and free, the crowd a cocoon, but Zachary's gaze snagged on Liam across the way, watching with intensity that bordered on hunger. Ethan joined soon after, reclaiming the space, the four of them forming an unwitting square, tensions humming subsonically. Dawn crept as the party waned, guests trickling out, Zachary and Ethan weaving arm in arm down Sunset, the Walker decompression of highs. "You were incredible," Ethan said, stopping under a street lamp's halo to kiss him slow, world fading. "My writer." Home brought collapse into bed, limbs entangled, whispers of love exchanged like currency. But sleep evaded Zachary, mind replaying glances, touches, the evening a tapestry of triumphs laced with thorns. Success snowballed, festival buzz led to agent inquiries, a manager named Riley, a sharp-witted non-binary talent with tattoos peeking from cuffs, signing him on the spot. "You're the next big queer scribe," Riley declared over lunch at Roscoe's, waffles drowning in syrup as contracts were sketched. Meetings piled, pitches at studios in Burbank, where XX leaned forward at tales of fractured fidelity. Ethan's practice stabilized, the Harlow account salvaged through sheer will, but shadows of doubt persisted. One evening, over grilled salmon on the patio, he broached it. "Liam's been texting you again." Zachary paused, fork midway. Script consults. Nothing more. Ethan nodded, but the air cooled. Just be careful. That world's seductive. The warning echoed as Zachary's calendar filled, a lunch with Theo morphing into a hike in Runyon Canyon, trails dusty under relentless sun, sweat beading as they crested ridges. You're glowing, Theo said, passing a water bottle, fingers lingering. Success suits you. At the summit, city sprawled below, Theo turned, earnest. Off script, I like you, Zach. More than co-star. If you're open. The confession hung, vista vast, and Zachary's heart stuttered, flattered, tempted, terrified. I appreciate it. Really. But I'm with Ethan. Working through stuff. Theo's smile didn't waver. Fair. Doors open. Dissent brought clarity, but also craving, the what-if a whisper. That night, dinner with Liam at a discreet sushi spot in Little Tokyo, bamboo screens partitioning privacy, Elena tagging along for buffer. Sake warm discussions, deals inked on napkins, but as Elena excused for a call, Liam's foot nudged Zachary's under the table, deliberate. You're playing with fire, Zachary said, half jest, half warning. Liam's eyes darkened. Maybe I like the burn. The touch withdrew, but the ember remained, smouldering. Home to Ethan, who waited with candles and a playlist of their early dates, the evening a deliberate romance, massages traded, stories retold. Intimacy followed, deep and anchoring, but climax crested with Zachary's eyes squeezing shut against intruding images, gill to shadow lover. Crisis ignited midweek, Zachary's phone left on the charger, Liam's text blooming unbidden, dreamt of that dinner. Next time, no buffer. Ethan saw it, the room tilting as accusation flared. What the fuck, Zach? While we were working through. It was nothing, Zachary protested, but evidence mounted, deleted threads, saved voicemails, patterns of flirtation undeniable. You're doing to me what he did to you, Ethan hurled, voice cracking. Karma? Or just weak? The barb struck bone, Zachary reeling. I'm not him. But yeah, I'm human. Flawed. Sorry doesn't erase the hurt, does it? They parted furious, Ethan to a hotel, Zachary to Marcus's for the third time, the cycle a cruel echo. You're both toxic now, Marcus said over midnight ramen, steam rising like sighs. Break it or heal it. Alone in the guest room, Zachary journaled furiously, pages filling with rage and regret, the script sequel birthing in pain, a man torn between redemption and reinvention. Dawn brought resolve, a letter to Ethan, handwritten, poured from gut. I see the hypocrisy now. The pull isn't love, it's escape. I'm choosing us. Or ending it clean. Meet me tonight? Delivery via courier, the wait agonizing, hours ticking in edits and errands. Evening found them at their first date booth in that Thai place, pad CU steaming between them, eyes meeting over menus like strangers. I read it, Ethan said, voice raw. Hurts. But honest. Dialogue flowed halting, hurts hashed, boundaries redrawn, no contacts with Theo or Liam, focus inward. We rebuild or we release, Zachary proposed, hand extended. Ethan clasped it, grip vice tight. Rebuild. Relief washed, tentative, as they walked home under stars, fingers linked, the path illuminated by mutual mercy. But in the quiet, Zachary wondered if mercy mended or merely masked, the heart's deeper wounds festering unseen. Summer scorched Los Angeles into a furnace, asphalt shimmering like molten glass, the Santa Ana winds whipping through canyons with whispers of wildfires on the horizon. The bungalow became a refuge of fans whirring and iced lattes sweating on coasters, Zachary and Ethan cocooned in a summer of intentionality. They vacationed in Palm Springs, a mid-century Airbnb with a pool that lapped turquoise under relentless sun, days spent floating on rafts, evenings in retro lounges where martinis clinked to toasts of resilience. You're my desert bloom, Ethan murmured one twilight, lips tracing Zachary's shoulder as they watched the sun dip, painting the San Jacintos in fire. The words, poetic and unprompted, chipped at residual ice, and Zachary leaned into them, body yielding where mind still guarded. Back in the city, the feature greenlight arrived like manna, Elena's email a cascade of exclamation points and deadlines, Riley orchestrating table reads at a conference room in Century City, scripts thumping onto tables like Bibles. Casting expanded, Theo recast in a supporting role with grace, his professional nod at the first read a bridge of maturity. "Proud of you," he said post-session, fist bump lingering a fraction too long, but Zachary stepped back, boundaries etched deeper. Liam's presence loomed peripheral, his blockbuster opening to box office gold, interviews touting authentic collaborations that skirted too close to truth. A premiere invite arrived, gold embossed, Ethan's perusal cool. "Go if you want," he said, but the subtext screamed caution. Zachary declined, attending instead a low-key screening of his short's extended cut with friends, the theater's intimacy a balm, applause a chorus of validation. Yet undercurrents stirred. Dr. Rivera noted the strain in a session, her pen tapping rhythmically. Progress isn't linear. What's bubbling beneath the rebuild? Zachary shifted, couch leather creaking. Fear. That one slip erases it all. Ethan nodded, hand finding Zachary's. And resentment lingers like smog. The honesty propelled them to couples retreat in Ojai, olive groves rustling under a full moon, workshops on communication unfolding in sun-dappled barns. They hiked trails lined with eucalyptus, breath sinking in meditation circles, evenings by fire pits sharing fears in flames glow. "I forgive you," Zachary whispered one night, stars wheeling above, the words a release valve. But more, "I forgive me." Ethan's tears glistened, arms enveloping. That's the win. Return invigorated, but reality reasserted, Ethan's firm demanding a deposition in New York, a week apart that tested the new fragile weave. Zachary filled evenings with writing sprints, the feature's second act pouring out in fevered bursts, climax of confrontation in a rain-lashed canyon, lovers bearing souls amid thunder. Marcus crashed for movie marathons, popcorn kernels scattering as they dissected plots, his insight sharp. Your guys fight like us, messy, real. That's the hook. Lena hosted a writer's salon in her Atwater bungalow, fairy lights twinkling among succulents, a circle of scribes trading pages and Pinot. There, Zachary met Javier, a poet-novelist with caramel skin and a beard trimmed neat, his verses on migration and desire resonating deep. Your script reads like verse, Javier said, eyes warm over glasses, their conversation stretching past midnight on the porch swing, stars confidants. Innocent, but the spark flickered, a reminder of capacity beyond repair. Home, Ethan called from JFK layover, voice tinny. Miss you. Tell me about your day. Zachary shared the salon, omitting Javier's name, but the omission nagged, a pebble in shoe. Everything okay? Ethan pressed. Yeah. Just. Grateful. The week crawled, video calls bridging distance, Ethan in suits amid skyscrapers, Zachary in tees on the deck, but absence amplified echoes, doubts creeping in quiet hours. Ethan's return brought airport reunion, kiss fierce in arrivals throng, but jet lag bred irritability, a spat over unpacked bags escalating to core wounds. You're distant again, Ethan accused, suitcase zipper rasping. Exhausted, Zachary countered. From holding us both up. The fight fizzled into silence, makeup sex a bandage over bruise, but morning brought armistice, breakfast burritos from the truck on Sunset, eaten in the car with radio crooning, apologies layered like salsa. The premiere loomed for Liam's film, buzz inescapable, billboards looming on freeways like accusatory eyes. Elena insisted Zachary attend as networking, Ethan tagging along with gritted teeth. The Dolby Theatre gleamed Art Deco splendor, red carpet a gauntlet of flashes and fawning, Liam at Epicenter, tux rumpled just so, charm dialed to 11. He spotted them in the lobby, weaving through with a producer in tow. You came, Liam said, hugging Ethan stiffly, then Zachary longer, cologne sharp. Means the world. The film unspooled, a glossy thriller with queer subtext buried under explosions, critics later praising its nuanced bromance. After party at Chateau Marmorne pulsed with A-listers, champagne rivers flowing, Zachary nursing a club soda amid schmoozing. Ethan mingled with lawyers, leaving Zachary adrift until Javier appeared, serendipitous, his invite a last-minute whim. "Fancy seeing you here," Javier grinned, clinking glasses. Poets crash the gate too. They talk shop, Javier's novel on ancestral ghosts mirroring Zachary's themes, laughter easy amid the din. Liam joined peripherally, triangle reforming, his banter laced with barbs. "Writer boys uniting? Dangerous." Ethan reappeared, arm possessive, diffusing with charm, but eyes later confessed unease in the valet line. "He still orbits you." "It's nothing," Zachary soothed, but the seed of doubt sprouted, conversations with Javier extending to coffee meetups, intellectual foreplay that danced on Platonic's edge. Crisis crested at a fundraiser gala for queer youth arts, black tie affair in a Griffith Observatory ballroom, telescopes pointing to infinities. Zachary and Ethan arrived coordinated, navy suits, pocket squares matching, their entrance drawing nods from donors. Speeches lauded resilience, films screened in loops, but backstage, Zachary cornered by Theo, now with a buzzed head and earring glinting. "Miscollaborating," Theo said, hand on arm. "Drinks after." Before reply, Liam sauntered up, Elena in wake, pulling Zachary into funding talks, the rumor web of connections. Ethan watched from afar, mingling with a judge, but his gaze burned. The after-drinks at a lounge on Franklin devolved, Theo's invites turning flirty, Javier's arrival adding layers, Liam's texts pinging, "Where are you? Save me from small talk." Ethan, nursing bourbon, confronted in the restroom mirror's reflection. "You're collecting admirers like scripts. Am I just the safe bet now? Hurt flared reciprocal. Or you're projecting your old sins. Trust is a two-way, Ethan." The drive home seethed, silence a third passenger, exploding at red lights. "I end it with them all," Zachary vowed. "But you have to meet me halfway." Ethan's grip whitened on wheel. "I am. Every day." Bed that night was a chasm, backs turned, but morning brewed tea and truce, notes left on pillows, fight for dawn, not dusk. Production ramped, location scouts in Malibu canyons, storyboards pinning visions. Javier consulted on dialogue, his poetic ear refining lyrics of loss, sessions in coffee shops stretching, touches accidental, knee brushes, laugh shared glances. Liam funded a key scene via his production company, visits to set charged, his direction notes laced with double entendres. "Make it hurt good," he'd say, eyes on Zachary. Ethan's support wavered, late calls from work veiling stress, whispers of burnout. One night, post-gala hangover, he confessed over takeout. "Seeing you shine. It's pride and terror. Like I'll fade." Zachary pulled him close, kitchen tile cool under bare feet. "You're the light source." Intimacy followed, reaffirming, but the high crashed with discovery, Ethan's browser history, searches for gay therapists NYC, hints of escape routes. Confrontation brewed gentle, over breakfast. "Thinking of leaving?" Zachary asked, voice steady. Ethan's fork dropped. "No. Researching solo sessions. To be better for us." Relief mingled doubt, the cycle's ghost. They doubled therapy, Dr. Rivera praising the proactivity. "Growth's ugly. Embrace it." Summer waned in heat waves, film's principal photography wrapping under a harvest moon, wrap party a bonfire on Zuma Beach, cast and crew toasting marshmallows to stars. Zachary danced with Ethan, waves crashing chorus, but Javier's poem recited by firelight, odes to fractured hearts, stirred echoes, Liam's distant way from the dunes a punctuation. Home, sated, they planned a quiet anniversary redo, 10 years marked not with rings but rituals, hike to the Hollywood sign at dawn, picnic of memories. But en route, traffic jammed, radio blaring Liam's interview, praising Zachary's inspiration with ambiguous warmth. Ethan switched stations, jaw set. He's not done. The doubt festered, anniversary lunch strained, toasts hollow. Evening brought rain, unseasonal, pattering on the deck as they unpacked boxes of photos, relics of before. "We were unbreakable," Ethan said, tracing a snapshot of beach youth. Were, Zachary echoed, the word a fracture. Argument ignited anew, old flames fanned. You're still tempted, Ethan accused. I see it in your silences. And you're still punishing, Zachary retorted. Trapping us in penance. The door slammed, Ethan to the guest room, Zachary to the car, driving canyon slick with storm, lightning forking sky. Marcus's light on, welcome as ever. Round 4, he joked, but eyes concerned. Feels like the end, Zachary admitted, rain dripping from hair. Marcus brewed chamomile. Ends are beginnings disguised. What do you want? Sleep brought dreams of canyons echoing choices, waking to resolve, face the temptations, sever or salvage. Return yielded raw talk, Ethan tear-streaked. I can't lose you. Then let's end the cycle, Zachary proposed. No contacts. Full focus. Or walk. Pact sealed with kiss, fragile as August truce, but summer's end promised autumn's harvest, growth or gleaning. Autumn returned with a vengeance, leaves turning gold in the Hollywood Hills as if the city itself sought reinvention, the air crisp with the promise of change laced with wood smoke from distant fires. The bungalow stood sentinel, its walls absorbing the echoes of mended quarrels, Zachary and Ethan navigating the season with the caution of tightrope walkers, each step measured, each glance a gauge of stability. They instituted no-phone Fridays, evenings unplugged with board games and vinyl spins, Coltrane's sax weaving through the living room like a mediator, drawing them closer on the rug strewn with throw pillows. The features post-production hummed in the background, color grading sessions in Burbank where footage transformed from raw to resonant, Zachary's vision sharpened under editors' knives. Riley fielded offers, a bidding war for distribution rights bubbling, whispers of Sundance slots electrifying phone calls. Your hot property, Riley crowed over speakerphone, Ethan's grin genuine from the kitchen. Play it cool. But cool proved elusive as temptations resurfaced, subtle as seismic rumbles. Javier's novel launch invited them to a reading in Echo Park, shells groaning under books and bodies, his voice rolling like thunder over passages of longing. Post-event, over mezcal in a dimly lit bar, Javier's eyes held Zachary's too long. Your influence shows in my revisions, he said, hand brushing arm. Dinner to brainstorm sequels. Ethan, sipping agua fresca, interjected smoothly. Love to, but schedules are murder. The deflection landed, but Javier's card slipped into Zachary's pocket with a wink, the gesture a thorn. Home, Ethan unpacked it silently, tension coiling. His persistent. Zachary sighed, tossing it in the drawer. I told him no. Trust rebuilt in layers, but cracks spiderwebbed. Liam's production check cleared with a note, proud to back brilliance. Call any time. Ethan saw it on the fridge, magnet slipping. Any time for what? Business, Zachary insisted, but the ambiguity chafed. Therapy delved deeper, Dr. Rivera assigning shadow work, journals on unmet needs, shared invulnerability. I crave adventure, Zachary wrote, reading aloud by lamplight. Not escape, but expansion. With you. Ethan's entry trembled, I fear inadequacy. Your light outshines, and I dim. The confessions bonded, leading to spontaneous road trip up the coast to Big Sur, Highway 1 curving like a lover's spine, windows down to salt wind. They camped under redwoods, tent zipped against fog, stories swapped by headlamp, Ethan's law school panic attacks, Zachary's coming out isolation in a small Ohio town before fleeing west. You saved me, Zachary said, fingers tracing constellations through mesh. Ditto, Ethan replied, kiss sealing the night. Return refueled, but festival season loomed, Outfest redux with the feature's debut, pressure mounting. Rehearsals for Q&As with Lena, wardrobe fittings yielding a velvet jacket that hugged Zachary's frame, Ethan's approval warm. You'll steal the show. Premiere night crackled, theatre packed, friends in finery, Marcus in a Kent vest, Lena in sequins that caught light like disco balls. Red carpet flashes blinded, interviews probing, what's the heart of this story? Zachary fielded, Ethan at side, hand on back a steadying force. Screening gripped, audience gasp syncing with plot twists, the betrayal scene eliciting held breaths, climax's raw plea drawing sniffles. Credits rolled to roar, standing ovation thundering, Zachary pulled unstage for bows, tears pricking as Lena hugged fierce. We did it! After party at a loft in DTLA pulsed with pride, rainbow flags draping beams, cocktails named after script lines. Elena cornered with deal points, Javier toasting with poetry, Theo congratulating with bro hug. Liam arrived fashionably late, entourage in tow, his presence parting crowds like Moses. Masterpiece, he declared, clinking Zachary's glass, gaze lingering. Inspired by life, ho. Ethan, nearby, stiffened, but masked with small talk. As night peaked, Zachary slipped a balcony for air, city hum below, Javier joining with two smokes. Overwhelmed? Javier asked, lighting up. Grateful. And terrified it'll vanish. Javier exhaled slow. It evolves. Like us. His hand covered Zachary's on the rail, thumb stroking, the touch a question. Zachary withdrew gently. I'm taken. Deeply. Javier nodded, respect in retreat. Lucky man. Descent brought collision, Liam in the hall, pulling Zachary into alcove. Quick word, producer loves it, wants sequel collab. Excitement ward caution. Ethan's here. Liam's smile sharpened. All business. Scout's honor. But as he leaned in, lips brushing ear with details, intimacy veiled, Ethan rounded corner, scene freezing. Am I interrupting? Liam stepped back, smooth. Just shop. Congrats again. Exit swift, leaving Frost. Elevator descent seethed silent, Ethan's jaw granite. Home exploded in foyer, keys clattering. In alcoves now? While I schmooze donors. It was nothing, Zachary pleaded. Talk of the film. Bullshit. I saw the lean in. The whisper. Accusations volleyed, hurts unearthed, Ethan's jealousy rooted in guilt, Zachary's defensiveness in exhaustion. You're suffocating me. Zachary yelled, first fracture of volume. And you're straying. Ethan countered, voice breaking. Door slammed, Ethan to car, Zachary collapsing on stairs, sobs racking. Phone rang, Marcus, sensing. Come over. Echo Park refuge, story spilled over herbal tea, Marcus's hug ironclad. You're both warriors, but war's wound. Call a timeout. Dawn call to Ethan went voicemail, text following, space. Love you. Let's heal apart. Days blurred in isolation, Zachary crashing at Lena's guest house, script polishes by pool, her tough love balm. Men are plot devices. You're the hero. Ethan hold in firm office, depositions a distraction, but nights in hotel staring at ceiling, journaling please. Week's end, they met neutral, beach boardwalk in Venice, waves lapping, skaters whirring past. I overreacted, Ethan admitted, sand shifting under feet. Fear talking. Me too, Zachary said. Pushed you away to breathe. Dialogue dissected, boundaries redrawn, therapy solo for month, check-ins weekly. We paused the engagement talk, Zachary suggested. Build foundation first. Agreement nodded, walk extending to sunset, hands brushing tentative, reconnection spark. But pause bred reflection, Zachary diving into solo pursuits, yoga intensives in the valley, meditation retreats where silence amplified in a voice. Javier faded gracefully, coffee to emails. Liam's collab pitched through Riley, professional buffer. Ethan's growth mirrored, new hobby, pottery classes in Culver, hands in clay a metaphor, vases emerging lopsided but lovely. Shared photos texted, thumbs up replies building bridge. Festival circuit beckoned, Sundance invite golden ticket, Park City snow and novel white. They flew together, resolve tested in close quarters, cabin shared, fire crackling, but tension simmered under cheer. Debut at Egyptian theatre analog, but altitude sharpened nerves, Q&A probing deeper. How personal is this betrayal? A critic asked. Zachary glanced Ethan, steady. Bleeds from life. Loves the wound and the salve. Panel acclaim, deals whispered in après-ski bars, but evening brought fracture. Liam, festival juror, at the same lodge, fireside chat turning private. Sequel's yours if you want, he offered, Scotch warming palms. Temptation crested, but Zachary demurred. Team decision. Ethan, eavesdropping from bar, confronted later in room, snow falling soft outside. Team? Or excuse? Trust teetered, argument muffled by walls, but climaxed in honesty. I choose you, Zachary vowed, kiss desperate. Every time. Reconciliation in sheets, bodies reaffirming, but dawn brought clarity, love's work eternal. Return to LA healed but humbled, award season teasing noms, but personal pinnacle, Ethan's proposal redo, quiet dinner at bungalow, ring presented sans fanfare. Not perfect. But ours. Zachary's yes trembled, embrace ceiling, but heart whispered caution's coda. Winter wrapped Los Angeles in its signature paradox, sunny days belying the chill that seeped into bones from the east, holiday lights twinkling prematurely on palm trees as if the city conspired to outshine shorter days. The bungalow donned garlands of eucalyptus and fairy lights, a tree in the corner shedding needles like confetti for their re-engaged life, Zachary and Ethan decorating with the solemnity of ritual, ornaments each carrying stories, a silver star from their first Christmas, a hand-painted heart from a Montana getaway. To new traditions, Ethan toasted with eggnog, mugs clinking warm. The film's Sundance splash cascaded into awards chatter, Golden Globe nods for screenplay and actor, Theo's breakout, red carpets a whirlwind of gowns and grins. Zachary walked them tux-clad, Ethan's armor anchor amid flashes, interviews lauding their partnership in art and life. Backstage, quick kisses stolen, the high intoxicating but ephemeral. Yet beneath glamour, undercurrents swirled. Solo therapy unearthed roots, Zachary's fear of abandonment from a father's early exit, Ethan's perfectionism forged in a household of high achievers. Dr. Rivera facilitated joint visions, where do you see 5 years hence? Journals swapped, dreams aligned, a co-authored book on queer resilience, perhaps a home upstate for escapes. Holiday break brought family, Ethan's Orange County clan, tense dinners where his mother's sidelong glances spoke volumes, his sister's acceptance a boy. Zachary's Ohio call home, mother's voice crackling with pride over the film's reviews, stepdad's gruff well done, son. The contrasts highlighted growth, love's mosaic pieced from disparate shards. New year dawned with resolutions penned on paper, burned in the fire pit under stars, vulnerability daily. Presence over perfection. Fireflies of sparks danced skyward, symbolizing release. Spring teased early, films release wide, box office blooming modest but mighty, critics hailing a tender gut punch for the heart. Press tours pulled Zachary east, Ethan tagging for key stops, hotel nights a mix of interviews and intimacy. In New York, a rooftop bar overlooking skyline, Ethan proposed formally, kneeling amid twinkling towers, ring glinting. 10 years earned this. Marry me, Zachary. For keeps. Tears blurred yes, cheers from strangers, call to Marcus eliciting whoops. But en route west, delay in Chicago bred confession, a fan encounter with Liam at baggage claim, awkward hug, his whisper, happy for you. Deserve it. Ethan, overhearing, later probed. Stir anything. Zachary honest, closure. Nothing more. Relief, then resolve, blocks on contacts, focus laser sharp. Wedding planning infused summer with joy, a venue scout in Sonoma Vineyards, guest lists blending worlds, Lena as best woman, Marcus officiant, Javier invited platonically. Vows drafted in tandem, words weaving pain to promise, in fractures, we found fortitude. But climax brewed insidious, Ethan's firm crisis, a client scandal implicating him in ethics breach, Liam's old contract, clauses buried that surfaced in lawsuit. Nights of strategy sessions, Ethan's face gaunt, Zachary's support unwavering, meals delivered, shoulders lent. Suspicion flickered, planted? But evidence cleared, malpractice not malice, firm standing by. Stress peaked in argument, Ethan lashing, "You think I deserved this? After everything?" "No," Zachary soothed, holding through storm. "We're weathered tougher." Resolution came in disbarment, scare averted, lesson in humility, Ethan's pivot to consulting, freedom's gift. Autumn wedding under oak canopy, Sonoma Hills golden, guests in wildflowers, vows exchanged at sunset, I choose you, in betrayal and beyond. In doubt and dawn. Ring slid, kiss sealed amid applause, reception a whirl of toasts, Lena's roast on scripted drama, Marcus's tearful charge on brotherhood. Honeymoon in Vermont cabins, leaves carpeting forests, days hiking mist-shrouded trails, nights by hearths with wine and whispers. "This is the real plot twist," Ethan said, tracing Zachary's ring finger. Zachary smiled, heart full. "The best kind." Return to life enriched, Zachary's next script brewing, a tale of healing post-heartbreak, Ethan co-producer. Temptations faded to footnotes, love's narrative rewritten in collaboration. Years folded forward, a son adopted, named Elias for the Canyon Echoes, screenplay sold, a Broadway adaptation, Ethan's firm reborn boutique. Trials came, Elias's schoolyard taunts for two-dad home, career droughts, but weathered together, therapy touchstone. On their 20th anniversary, Silver Lake bungalow much the same, Elias teen tools strumming guitar in yard, Zachary and Ethan on deck with Merlot, rings worn thin as vows enduring. Discovered more than betrayal that night, Zachary reflected, hand in Ethan's. Discovered us. Deeper. Ethan kissed knuckles. Worth every scar. Twilight deepened, city lights winking approval, life a story unfinished, rich in humanity's spectrum, love not flawless, but fiercely, irrevocably real.